What is up? It's Thursday night. That means we're going to talk about some comic books. We got at least 2, if not 3, great books on the slate here. So I'm excited to talk about those. But before we do that, let's hit. Awesome. Let's bring in a couple of my friends here, and let's see what this panel looks like tonight.
I wasn't expecting that.
I had to go sleeveless, it's a thing.
Yeah, sleeveless, you have the intro, all that.
While he's sipping his coffee. This is Mr. Pocan Joe. He's a little new to the Burke fam, but he's a great guy in the community. He talks about a lot of books, so we brought him in.
Oh, thank you for having me. Also, that intro is awesome. It reminds me of like a Korean nightclub. It was all. Hold on into that,
man. Hit up a lot of those Korean nightclubs.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to be talking Power Rangers and Teen Titans Academy Yearbook, and I believe these two guys have the lowdown on Beta Ray Bill. I briefly got to skim through it, so I'm excited to let them fill in the gaps in my reading there. So it should be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to talk about that stuff. Let's see. Look who always shows up on time. We got Mars Comics in here.
Hey, Mars.
Yeah. Todd Christian. Amazing commenter. Like he leaves me some of the best comments.
Nice.
Of course, we got Mr. Legion of Comics here. Look at this guy, Southern Comic Geek.
Nice.
Sabato. We got a lot of people saying hello.
Yes.
So this is awesome. We got quite a few people in here. Starting out kind of early, so this is exciting.
15 minutes late, starting out early.
We keep pushing, but don't worry, we'll get there.
Yeah. As long as you can edit the stream time, we're never late.
Right. Let's see. So before we get too much farther, let's make sure that we talk about comic book _pressing. Use the promo code BURK54 for free return shipping on your first order. This is one of Steve's channel sponsors, so I wanted to make sure to highlight that and let him know that even when Steve is gone, because he's on old man vacation in Branson, Missouri, I believe. So while he's away, I told him I would take care of his Thursday night show. So I'm trying to do my best. I had to go team no sleeves for it. So I said, let's do it right. We can't not have Steve around.
Looks like your biceps haven't seen the sun in a few years there, Ryan.
Well, at 33, I can confirm it's probably been 20 years. The recipe's like all red and orange and everything else, but got to keep something nice and pasty.
Yeah. It's a nice fade from your wrist to your shirt. There's no hard transition at all.
No hard lines. You got some smooth.
You can only imagine how much whiter it gets in some locations.
I don't want to imagine.
Team no shorts, what? I do have to say, though, I don't see Steve in here. Disappointing, man. Very disappointing.
I think he's probably passed out drunk at this point. Wasn't he drunk about 5 hours ago playing darts or something?
Nice.
I would hope so. That's definitely how my vacation would be going.
He kept sharing pictures of drinks in the chat. He's like 1, 2, 4th darts, and then a little video of him just humming with music in the background, smirking.
He must be sharing it in the other chat because I definitely haven't seen any of that, unfortunately.
It was in the chat with the capital T.
The chat.
Oh, we gotta get that thing fixed.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. Steve's
And
getting wild with it.
I would hate to be in his shoes with that chat debacle. He's got too many people and not a comfortable platform to fit them all on.
Oh.
It's like having to pick your favorite kid. My wife laughed. She knows my answer.
Easy, Finn.
Yeah, easy. It's my favorite son.
I shared a video today from the Instagram people, and they were talking about like some of the updates they're working on, and I mean they're very vague about everything, you know, what it is they're trying to do, but one thing they did mention is that the way people communicate today versus, you know, a couple of years ago and stuff is messaging, and so that is becoming a new focus for them. Messaging, and they were talking about like immersive video, you know, trying to take it from the little square videos in your feed to somehow get it to be immersive even in the feed. So sounds like they're going to try to do the Reels thing kind of like more directly into the feed.
Not sure why that would be hard. Just take the framing away.
Just go talk to the guys over at Facebook. You can go live on Facebook all the time. Just, hey guys.
Yeah, you see videos shaped all different ways on every other platform. Well, I don't know about every other platform. I'm still kind of new to Instagram even, but that square frame stuff is just stupid in my mind. Like, I don't have a square phone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's supposedly that stuff they're working on.
Geniuses over at Quibi and get it all figured out quick.
Figure out how to go out of business quick too.
I'm sure that they don't want to like be too much like Facebook, since it is the same company. They want their two different apps to be different to draw different people in. But you should be able to click on a picture and see it in full size. Like, you can't click on nothing else. It's frustrating.
And you can't steal memes from Instagram either. I try all the time.
Oh yeah, you can. You just got to screenshot them, crop them, and then go.
Yeah, you got to do a bunch, screenshot it all weird. Nah. Let's go over Facebook.
Speaking
Steal my
of-
memes from there, put them on Instagram. Everybody thinks I'm a genius.
Speaking of, though, if you're not following Pocan Joe, like, he posts some of the best memes on Instagram, you know. So
They're
go
not
follow
mine.
them because they're usually worth it. Man, I was trying to think of if there's any news
Did anybody
that
watch
dropped this week.
the Loki yet?
Absolutely, but it's a little early for that.
Yeah, a little early for it. I just want to know if it's worth watching.
Oh no, this one is. This changes the game.
Nice. Okay, good.
And then there's an after credit scene to it that reverses the game changing.
Nice.
But
Oh, Lord.
makes it a different game. You know, it had this whole Radiant Black issue 4 thing to it, where we're going to change up directions. And issue 5 comes like, did we change directions though?
It's like they got 2 scripts for Loki, and at the last minute they're like, no, do this one.
Yeah. Oh, screw it. Just do both. Do both. No, but I absolutely loved it. The last 10 minutes of it, dude, I was like so excited. It was amazing. What's up, Dave? Dave's up in the chat. Robert,
Yeah.
how's it going tonight? How's it going?
Back to Mars.
But yeah, I thought
I'll tell you, Mars is definitely active in our chats.
She's on there. And she's like,
Mhm.
I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but if you've seen her Would You Rather entry, like she's got some solid books, like
bangers.
straight up. I was like, damn, I don't even have that one. Who is this?
She was straight humble bragging the whole time.
She was like, I picked this up back in the day. What?
You know, I like X-Men, you know, like this first Deadpool's pretty cool, and this Superman right here, it just happens to be the first comic I ever bought off the shelf.
See, I
Really?
need to go back and check out that playlist. I watched all of them whenever I submitted mine. I went through and watched them all, but I need to go back because I'm sure I was a few days right before the deadline, so I'm sure there was some other ones that came in later.
Yeah, there was Well, the first one that just launched theirs immediately was a 64-page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was one of my favorites.
yeah, he did. He was kind of, and he's very savvy with the clips and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Movie
like, the
magic.
production quality was great, and like the jokes and the puns and stuff just on
Yeah.
point. Like, it was hilarious all the way through.
He's a very witty individual, and that was great. And then we were like, okay, so nothing happened for a few days, and me and Mike were like, let's just make a video so people get the point that they don't have to like go to that level. So there we are in my little evil lair.
5 takes later.
It took forever.
He almost he almost took the cake and made everybody else look worse, even the creators.
It's good stuff.
Man, I feel like there was like one announcement somewhere along the way, but
Well, CGC just got bought.
Mhm.
oh yeah, Dave shared that today. In fact,
Yep. See, I saw that. I watched the one. We watched the deal happen. That was crazy.
What?
And then it actually got signed off. So with the amount of money that's involved there, it's got to be reported. So we have access to E-Tran where I work, and when we saw the transaction happen, I was like, oh, it did happen. Because nothing means nothing until money hits the bank.
Are you excited by this, or are you let down by this, or indifferent?
I think for the first 2 to 3 months, it's going to cause a lot of problems. It's like anything with a hard change like this. You know, some people are loyal to CGC. They may get their feelings hurt. They're going to bring a new there's always some change that's going to happen. And when the change happens, that backs everything else up. Right? Because people can only do one thing at a time or have to learn a new process. So if you got anything in right now, I'm sure there's going to be a changeover period of time where the leadership now is in charge and they kind of fade out as the new people come in. But it's going to back things up for a little bit.
Do you think that this was a sign of like CGC and like the big ups over there just throwing in the towel like this? We've tried what we can try with expanding, hiring new people. We just can't meet the volume. To hell with it.
I think this was always an end goal for them to get the value up, and then dump it and go walk away and do something else. So they'll more than likely.
This is definitely a good time to dump it. They literally max out their capability. Like they absolutely max out their capability.
It was a $500 million deal too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's not something to whatever, man. That's legit cash. That's
the good thing. They literally have like I don't know. That's not a lot of money compared to what they deal in though. Like just the value of the stuff that moves through their place.
Well, see, that's the point. When that changes at that point, that they have no control over the amount of money that goes through there. So if you send in let's just throw a fictitious book out there, Superman #5, right? Original first #5. That's a very expensive book. It goes for easy 6, if not 7 figures, depending on the grade. It goes through there. That doesn't matter to CGC. They don't care. They're looking for that. What is it? What do I get for putting it in, cheap fucking plastic? Ship it back to the person.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like they're basically a pass through. Like it doesn't matter if you're sending a $4 book or a $100,000 book.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all
there. It doesn't matter.
I would hope that they would treat it a little better, but that being said, they don't make any money off of that necessarily.
Infamous video of them flipping through a Superman #1, not an action, but a Superman #1 at a con. The dude just has on the table, just flipping it. Now, in all honesty, if that was my book in that low grade, I probably have held it numerous times. That wouldn't be nothing for me to trust my own hands when I'm flipping through it, having held it plenty of times, knowing that, yeah, this book is fine just to flip like this. But the way that dude did that it just looked careless, looked super careless.
Yeah. What annoyed me is having to stand in some long line because I know I'm going to get something signed, and the guy's got to hang out with me the whole time, and the guy has no personality. Like he stands there with their body part.
Could have just been a cardboard cutout.
Like, so do you read comic books? You're gonna stand here with me.
You think they would just station these people with the artists, not with the individuals that want something.
Right. And then he acts like it's a big inconvenience standing there. Do you know how much I could get paid just to stand around?
I know. Jesus Christ.
Stand around, drink beer, be like, don't switch to comic books, son.
Well, and the headlines have ran with Jay-Z's name being attached to the company that bought him. So do you think there's any relevance there, or do you think that just helps make the headline catchier?
I think it was on JC's side. It was probably run through one of his companies more than likely instead of him directly. I'm just speculating right now. Let me be very clear on that. So he probably doesn't even know that he bought into this company. That's going to be his money man.
Yeah, that's what I figured is like they probably just bring him numbers and he looks at like, oh, okay, yeah, it looks like I can make money on this. Sure, I'll take it kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, if I'm wrong, then he'll be promoting it himself because JC is a promoter of his own stuff and he's a hard promoter of his own stuff. Yeah,
the article that Dave had sent that I saw this all on was we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
He's carrying a gun now, folks.
I think the one thing that the article did cite is like with Jay-Z's company having picked this up, like it does show you how valuable the collectible market itself has become to even like get on his radar in the first place, so I do think that is one point, about him being anywhere even close to related to this. But yeah, I think mostly it just sells the headline whenever you put Jay-Z's name on there.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Jay-Z is a comic book fan. What was it? Ice-T came out 4 years ago and said and listed off comic books that he read. It's like, sometimes we tend to forget, that people that are stars and stuff like that, we tend to forget that they have everyday hobbies.
Yeah, right. Well, didn't Method Man, I think it was Method Man, or maybe Redman, recently did a video not too long ago, and like his collection is insane.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I never would have guessed, but it kind of makes sense too,
I heard Method Man's trying to and it's all rumors and speculation. I got it from another show, but like he's kind of gunning and been applying for different roles in the MCU to kind of get in on that.
Oh, nice.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know how strong of a performance he gives necessarily, but I don't think I've seen anything with him in it in years either. So maybe he's gotten much better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that what was the one movie that he did with
How High?
How High? There you go. Boom. Like that's the only thing I can think of, and I can't even remember it. So he was remember they like drive through the college campus and stuff.
Get high scores.
The Weekend. What types of names?
Wouldn't it be a villain that just rolls his own, weed and smokes it? Like I'm trying to figure out
just like forgets his own plan to take over the world and dominate the planet.
He comes walking out there
what was I doing again?
Rolling a doobie, be like, "Let me tell you something, son." Listen, kid, we're going back in time.
And Q-Tip, of course.
I would so watch that.
Man. Well, I mean, that turned out to be better news than I realized.
And now you're up to date. On with the rest of the printer.
Right. Rock Nation, yeah. My first question was like, are there any like Def Jam comic books? I mean, I know they do the hip hop variants, but they had Def Jam video games.
Eminem was in a comic book with Punisher. Wu-Tang Clan was in a comic book.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Every now and then one of the independents gets, one of these groups together and does some things. Wu-Tang Clan, that's nothing to fuck with.
That's what they say. Got to protect your neck.
I'm from suburbia. What do you expect, man?
They said it, so they meant it. Cool. Well, I'm pretty sure that's all the news I can think of. So unless y'all got something else there, we can talk about at least one book, I guess.
You can talk about whatever you want. Hey, you're the boss. I'm here to service, not service. I'm here to be with you. I don't know how to say this without it coming off bad, man.
Words are hard. Jabberjaw. There you go. With the Aquaman. Wait.
Yeah, that was a thing. I remember that comment. That was fun.
There's a lot of those cartoon DC crossovers, like Elmer Fudd and Batman crossover. That was actually done dark and gritty, where like all the other Looney Tunes, like Bugs, was just a mobster in a bar, and it was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Joker and
Daffy. One more. Daffy Duck was the henchman of the Joker, and that was kind of.
They didn't lean toward the Looney Tunes with this stuff at all.
No,
We're just bringing them in.
And then Porky Pig was hanging out with Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor totally made him the scapegoat for some corporation shenanigans. It destroyed your childhood right there.
Lex Luthor and Porky Pig.
Once he was in jail,
we need Garth Ennis to.
Thing went south real fast.
We need Garth Ennis to write like a Looney Tunes comic, a little 5-issue series. He just like smash him with the hammer. Like, I'm not gonna kill you.
The Porky Pig that doesn't kill.
Boom! Look at that. The most memorable one out of all.
Elmer Fudd Batman. That was a good one too.
See, this sentence makes perfect sense, except where it says surprisingly. I'm not surprised. I didn't even read the credits of that book to see who did it, but it was fantastic.
Now that was kind of a twisted one too, with the Banana Splits and Suicide Squad. Miss Marty.
Well, the Banana Splits was the old show with the people in the suits riding around on bicycles, and it was like a variety show, right? They'd have like the Three Musketeers cartoon in it and everything.
Yeah, they were all like animals or something. They looked like the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah,
they're riding around on like bicycles. The opening of it was like them riding around in like a closed carnival. They're the only ones there. Like I remember loving that show growing up.
I've never heard of that.
It's from like the 60s, dude, or the early 70s.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've watched weird stuff growing up, man.
I mean, I did too, but that one's
just a sign of its time. But all the little cut stuff in it, because the variety, there's some awesome stuff like the Three Musketeers cartoon. Like it's a half-hour show, but would have like 3 to 5 minute long segments in it of other stuff as well. And yeah, the Three Musketeers cartoon I remember very vividly. That was amazing.
Yep. Why was there no team up comic between Jim and the Holograms and the Disco Dazzler? You know what? That you need to go pitch that idea.
Right.
Like Jim and the Holograms end up on their crazy hippie commune island, and Dazzler's like, no, we can jam or whatever.
Maybe you two should team up and go pitch it because that sounds great.
I'll take that way too far. I'll put some existential threat in there.
You would take it too far. I hear this one already did. So, yeah. So I guess let's start with Teen Titans. You want to start there?
Yeah.
That had quite a few different little episodic stories to it. So, yeah, we can kind of touch on each of those.
Definitely. Well, which one did you like the most?
I think my favorite one was probably the last one, the Red Hood origin.
Yeah, that hit you right in the feels.
Yes, yeah.
It makes me
that was an interesting one.
It makes me think that some potentially maybe 1 or 2 Batman books from the 80s might see a spike here soon.
I think it's so too. Now that you mention that, yeah, I could see that happening.
But I'm going to allow the people watching this to go read this and figure out which ones.
Yeah.
not spoon feeding you bad advice.
I guess the first question I want to ask: what did y'all think is like an annual? Did this one work well? The yearbook.
I thought this was ingenious because you got a school, so you got a yearbook. It's an annual. You know, it just flipping through it, you know, they would have the BS advertisements you would have in a typical yearbook.
Yeah.
You know, it was like,
yeah, I love that ad page. That was great. All-Star Squadron app coming soon.
It was on the nose, and then, you know, kids sitting around doing nothing, and of course they're doing a write-up on it.
yeah, he's like the lunch bunch, and they're just like sitting there like eating lunch.
And the most likely stuff. I don't even know.
The bios for the teachers, and Nightwing had the bio not approved before print deadline. You know, like they played with it well. This series is done really good with like playing like with different genre stuff. Like with that last issue, they knew that they had the annual coming, that they couldn't really deliver too much coming out of a story arc, so they played with the genre of detectives, you know, and they leaned into it heavily, and they even played with the fourth wall breaking with the new Stitch character, you know, which I miss Ambush Bug, but I showed you, Ryan, that Ambush Bug's coming to Suicide Squad soon. So that I'm excited about that, because that's the original Deadpool. When you're talking about breaking the fourth wall, Ambush Bug's the one for the job. Like,
oh yeah,
it's cool how they play with the genre, like with this. Like, this is a yearbook, so they made it a yearbook and stuff. And they so far, like, I didn't give two craps about the Bat Gang or whatever they called them, so the Bat Pack. But when I read it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't go seek out more books from it, but I didn't regret the time that I spent reading that issue. And same thing with this. Like, I'm not invested in Stitch. I'm not invested in the Prince Kid character yet, the not Superboy character yet, but I didn't regret my time learning about these characters. So it served its purpose well. They did a good job. And the fact that they threw that curveball in there, and just all of a sudden Dr. Fate's just standing there talking to Stitch, and you find out that Stitch is just an animated rag out of the House of Fate, pretty much.
And that's what I was gonna say about the organization of this book. Yeah. I was really impressed because I thought the Stitch story was really strong, and I thought the final story with Red X was really strong. And so I thought it was a good organization, because when I started the book, like, I already had this disposition toward annuals anyway. So like opening the first page, I'm like, I'll probably get something out of this, hopefully. And then like Stitch pretty much like hooked me in pretty quick, you know. And then to end the book with a memorable story like the Red X one, like, I thought that was a great way to sandwich kind of some of the. Because I've been, you know, pretty vocal about how like Matt Price was kind of one of the characters I've been most interested in as far as the new ones and finding out more. And I thought that story like really fell flat for me. It didn't make the family connection that it kind of seemed to be trying to emphasize for me. And I really didn't care for the artwork. Not that it was bad. It just wasn't in a style that really interests me in any way.
Well, just to balance that out, I didn't care for the art either, but it didn't hit the family connection with me either. What it showed me was this dude doesn't fit in a family despite this effort. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're trying to tell me like, look, he can be happy too. It's, look, this dude ain't gonna be happy. Like you can stick him in here. It just felt uncomfortable. Like it felt like he put on
like a weird wedge.
Yeah, exactly. But it did. I know you did mention something when we spoke last Thursday. I think it was. You mentioned how you're ready to see Tubi
turn into a tube.
Do something Tubi, and I told you he did when he got electrocuted, but you missed it. Well, he Tubi'd in this one also, so he's not just Tubi is just elasticable. In the last issue, he actually turned into a little tube with a head on his head. And this one, he actually did a little bit more, so you kind of got to see him do his powers just a little bit in there. Which,
and I like his commentary on that too. He's like, "Oh, this feels weird."
Yeah,
yeah, it looks weird.
So he did that so water would flow through him. So where was the water coming out at?
From the water tower.
No, from out of him.
I don't think it went in his body.
So he peed all over the barn.
Just saying, where's the end of the tube?
Yeah. There was some logistical questions there because like he didn't really explain.
Hey, what does that look like? I'm leaving it up.
Look like he blew his back out. That's weird. They didn't need to put the feet in there. But
he's about explosive diarrhea.
I think we've all had those nights.
That's a post Taco Bell French fry kind of situation there.
That's Taco Bell and extra pudding.
One thing I thought, with this page right here, where they actually show you the other classmates and stuff. They're actually pulling images. These aren't just random images drawn for this book. These are existing images from the past. So you get Superboy from the Jeff Johns era. I'm trying to remember who did the artwork back then. What an epic run. I mean, that was, man, that was such a great run. Like when Bart becomes Kid Flash and everything and reads every book in the library in a split second and just has the suit on. Like, oh my God, what a great time for Teen Titans. But seeing Connor and that artwork from there just brought back all those feels and everything. So there's a lot of little stuff like that are nods to the people that have read the stories in the past, that it just draws you back into that kind of stuff. And but I think it did great. And then immediately it hits us with that red X to let us know that we ain't ready for what's
going on. And I was going to ask, do you think the actual like X and all of that is intentional in presentation? Like, because I mean, my eye was immediately drawn to Superboy. So do you think there was something specific in trying to highlight him and not have him X'd out, or do you think that's just how the image falls?
Deep.
Because if you want to do that, it's like down here it says mark the spot, and it has this person's face right in the middle. Maybe that's red X.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, do you think that image was arranged that specifically, or do you think it was just like, let's throw some other characters up here and put an X over them?
I'm still the mindset, how can any of the students that we've seen be red X? Because wouldn't they know that this person's not enrolled in our school, being that we watched them like stow away into the Titans Academy? Like we literally watched them buy a knockoff book bag in the back alley. But this kind of changed that up a little bit, and now it looks like old red X handed them the book bag. Like they're legit old in there now. So
yeah.
For this issue, I thought that it was just like the guy in the alley in Cancun selling Botox. Like, you want a bag, you know? But that's a real story, by the way.
Well, and you know, that was like before I had read this issue today. This morning I had kind of written a diatribe about like my reasons for thinking this could potentially be Tim Drake, while also trying to like kind of scapegoat myself in case it doesn't become him, you know. And this issue definitely has me leaning a little more not toward Tim Drake, just because of the way it wrapped up there.
Yeah, the
last just page the origin as well.
Yeah, that last page there, I'm like, I don't think that's Tim Drake.
Yeah, he's way too young.
They give us we see him as a kid. Like Tim Drake he's the only Robin who comes from an actual family. Like he had a dad. His dad didn't. He had his dad until Identity Crisis, when Captain Boomerang killed him on, not even intentionally, wasn't aiming for that person, you know. So we know that Red X comes from this foster home.
Yeah, you know, that's
yeah, we're paying off parents to foster these kids to groom them to be henchmen down the road for henchmen in Gotham, nonetheless. So we are tied to Gotham a little bit here with it as well. What's going on, Chaos? Be sure to check out my channel.
When I read through this, there was one story I was just like, man, they could have I could tear this out and still enjoy this book and still don't care. And this is this whole constant thing with Beast Boy and Raven. Like, wasn't that in the cartoon? Wasn't that a thing?
They're kind of like, in the TV show even.
Yeah, it's like I don't care. I'm sorry.
And
I don't care.
Can y'all explain to me what happened in that image at the beginning there? That was odd paneling, right?
Which one?
Yeah, you see right there at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like everything explodes, and then like in the rubble you see Beast Boy Cyborg hybrid from Future State, but I didn't really get that, because like they were two separate people running away, and then they're like fused together whenever rocks fall on them.
Yeah, and that's intentional.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I'm assuming it's intentional. I didn't understand what it was supposed to mean, though. That was like my problem. I was like, I don't know like what happened right here.
Separate in this panel, right? Because they're Cyborg in the background, and then it's like, ta-da! It's the same person. Magic.
You remember in Future State they were merged. It was Cybeast.
Right.
Like basically Grid had attached itself to Beast Boy is what it looked like to me.
Right, but that was in Future State. This was a premonition of the future.
Which we're kind of going toward. Some of those events are coming to pass and some aren't. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but Shazam is about to have a 4-issue miniseries coming up to explain what's going on with Billy Batson. So we're getting to those epic events. Like, I don't know if you remember, think back to Future State Teen Titans when it all started with the flashback of whoever Red X is, saw that the Teen Titans had some body in an energy chamber, like a little imprisoned in an energy chamber, yelling, screaming, and setting them free and everything. Like, and you read Shazam, like separate from Billy Batson, with Billy in hell keeping the door shut, Shazam on Earth. Like, I think we're getting through a lot of that stuff really fast here now.
See, I thought the Shazam thing was going to kind of explore him and the Monkey God a little bit more.
The Monkey
God?
They're
friends at Teen Titans. Yeah, the Monkey God kid.
He was introduced in something, right? He was highlighted in that the Asian, like the Asian Pride one, right?
Monkey God. Him and Billy Batson met, and they're both at. They confirmed it that they don't like each other when they're their kid form at Teen Titans Academy. They've done like put that in there, and I thought the Shazam story when it came out, because I haven't read much on it, I just naturally assumed that was going to be that relationship, and they were going to kind of bring this character up a little bit more into that.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah. Odd.
This was good. I enjoyed this. For the most
part. One thing that did kind of strike me today, though, because I was talking about how in Future State, remember we saw, what's his name, Nightwing. He puts on the Deathstroke hat and stuff, and we have the Deathstroke Inc. book coming up.
Nightstroke.
Do you think that there's some connection between those two things?
I hope not.
Yeah.
Like, well, look, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I've never been a Nightwing fan per se. I'll read it when he's in a story that I'm reading, whatever. I enjoy it for about 5 minutes. He's just a glorified gymnast at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned. 2 sticks.
Thursday Night That's one of Steve's favorite characters, too. That's funny.
But I definitely really start hating it when they try to cram more characters in an already existing character. At that point,
that's a big part of my beef with Ghostmaker. Like,
yeah, because then you start kind of losing like the character and their story, right? Because you're cramming all this other stuff in there, and it's like, oh, he was really a villain the entire time, and it was like, but he did a bunch of good shit. Like, that doesn't make sense.
yeah, I am not a fan of history packing because it feels like you're always looking backwards instead of forwards, and like the character has to grow at some point, and instead you're worried about like where they were way back when, you know?
Yeah, it's just some writer sitting there going, "Aha, I'm going to make a twist. What if you're really a good guy the entire time?" And it's like, do you even read comic books, Slick?
Yeah, that was just the only thing. I was like, we still don't know why like Nightwing was putting on the Deathstroke hood at the end of there and stuff. So, you know, that's the one like potential outlet I could see them kind of revealing why Nightwing is on the other side of things in Future State.
Papa's here.
Oh, dude, you missed it. We did your show perfect. Like the intro was on point. We nailed it.
For those who came in late, welcome to the Thursday Night Review. # Team No Sleeves. Hit that intro.
That Korean disco music.
I already dropped it out. Keep talking. I'll bring it back.
Bring it on back. We just reviewed Teen Titans Annual #1, which was the 2021 yearbook edition. It was actually a good read. Got to build on the Stitch character a little bit. Had some big revelations on who and what is Stitch, as well as some more mystery into the Matt Price character, and a big reveal for the Red X. We get to see Red X as a kid out of the costume, as well as the Generation 1 Red X that was the first one that wasn't a Robin, the one that took the costume from the Robin. And you really didn't have a good time placement until you saw how the costume was different. I'm like, oh, that looks wicked. So
what I liked most about the Stitch story, and that was my favorite story in there, is that there was, Stitch is constantly telling you in a narrative that she's different and why she's different and how she wish she just had friends and wish she just had this. And then come to find out, she does have those things. Like she just didn't know how to relate to it. Like the scene with the friend, right? And I was like, oh my God, that is like every teenage girl going through school right now. It's like, I don't have any friends. And it's like, what are you talking about? We just took all you and all your friends to the movies, right? It's like, how do you, right? Because, sometimes when you're, when you're going through school, you have your little identity crisis. You try to figure out, and immediately you do the school thing. What group do I fit into? And that was very present in this story. And I thought that was, first off, it was ingenious for the writer to kind of play that out to where she can't see past her own nose because she thinks she's so different than everybody else that she can't relate. And then she's actually having the same experience that every other kid's there. And then watching her put her name down to be president, I was like, that's growth. That is somebody growing and maturing. That is beautiful. That's how you tell a story. And then
I really like the focus. I really like the focus on breakfast and the egg smiling because it was like the one, not even like the one honest, but like the one smile that she could understand. Like this one I know is really smiling at me. Everybody else, like, I don't know how they really feel about me kind of thing, Like, I thought that was really cool. Like, it was a nice little connection to, like, humanity, I guess, You want
to get deep to it? The reason why she recognized it, because the smiles is just as fake as she thought she was.
That's an excellent point. I wish I had your philosophy with Joe.
Yeah, philosophy with poker.
Philosophy with poker. It's like, can we do the thing? Can we what thing? Get the thing with the
intro. I have so much fun with those. It's ridiculous.
I like how they came about so naturally too.
I love it with Spider Grandpa.
We have to rein him in. How do we rein him in? Just fit him between a segment, intro and outro. That's how we rein in Joe. Give him a segment. We're gonna put him in a box.
The funniest one, the one I got the most DMs on. It's funny because people don't usually comment the videos; they just hit me straight up in the DMs. And the one was where I gave the audience and every philosophical theory compliment. And people are like, right? And some of it got a little rough, and some of it was kind of mid-grade. Like, we were kind of all over the place, and people wanted me to explain that left and right. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is the economy. This is realism. Should have done that in the show.
You should never explain it to people. Just send them links to more confusing reads.
Yeah, some stuff about ancient aliens or something.
I want it all come down to it. Philosophy. Nothing about philosophy is ever written in stone. If someone can think beyond it.
Well, no, there's 4 things that are. We talked about it.
Yeah, what's on your hand?
Huh?
What's on your hand?
So, I did something to my.
I did something to myself.
It's a topographical map of Iraq. I was just bringing it out. I tattooed it.
Joe really gets into his stories,
Oh my God.
Last night, for some reason, my knuckles started swelling, and I couldn't figure out why. And so I was like, so this morning I'm typing, and my hand's hurting. I looked down, and it swelled up. And that's the first set of lines. So the best way to determine between a sprain, fracture, break, or an infection is the time to swelling. So that's what the second line is. And I'm timing out my swelling to see if I need to go to an emergency room or if I can wait till after the weekend and 4th of July is done and hang out with my family and party.
Oh, we all know how excited you are about this. This might be your out.
Yeah.
Joe straight and hit himself with a hammer. He's like,
I'm like, look, guys, 3 lines. I'm going to die. I got to go.
Anyways, the four.
Oh, look at that! Scott knew what you were doing.
Philosophy. What were the 4?
I'm sorry. Oh, the cardinal virtues of man. That's pretty solid through all of philosophy. There's 4 cardinal virtues, and then you base all your virtues and ethics off of those. And then from there, it's just like anything else. Even in Stoicism, where it tells you to be your own man and focus on your own, You still need a group. All people need a group. All people are part of a herd. It's just how invested you are into the herd that makes the difference.
But that's not true in itself. Not all people are part of a group.
Yeah, all people are part of a group in one way, shape, or form.
People that are off the grid that live by themselves. I'm talking, these are low
They
numbers.
go into town and communicate with people at one point or another.
But I'm talking about off the grid, not people that live in the isolated.
Right. They still got to have families and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah. Even the Unabomber who lived in the woods still had friends.
No, let's talk like Alaska, where people, a large percentage of the population that moves out to Alaska typically move out there to get away from the world. You know, like
the only way you're going to know if somebody actually lives that life is a person that you'll never meet. So therefore,
exactly.
It's real. Therefore, you have to ask if it's real.
This isn't that there's a bear piss in the woods thing. This is like there are people that live off the grid, like Bigfoot,
and they still communicate and build families.
Why would you assume that they wouldn't live off the grid? You can't live off the grid.
Why would you assume that they exist? Period, without connection. It's the same question.
Just out of like sheer probability.
Okay. I would say that they're growing families. Because man by himself, or any person by themselves, I mean man as universal. Man by themselves over a period of time with no communication with anybody else will, one, drive themselves insane. Two, depression will set in and they'll kill themselves. That's not even philosophy. That's straight psychology right there.
We'll talk after the stream on that one.
All right, that's no problem.
Because there's stuff that I'd be more than happy to share with you that I wouldn't necessarily.
No problem. I'm always happy to talk. I'm only good at like a handful of things. Apparently, tracking.
You're gonna have to let at least one person know what any one of those things are someday.
Fair enough.
Schrodinger's recluse.
Actually, that's a good point. The whole cat in the box thing versus not that's a good example of it as well. But yeah.
I was waiting for Mark to tell us about people he knows that don't know anybody.
I wouldn't know that. You're talking sheer. And even if you do have that person that lives out in, just because you make contact with somebody doesn't mean you're a part of a group. Like in all sincerity, if you reach out, like you can leave a group and still have like limited communication with them, or just going into town for bare necessities doesn't make you part of a group. That just makes you
necessity. It makes you to need a necessity for life, because if you're truly independent, then you would never need to go into the town.
Yeah, I'm saying there's like the difference between like providing your own stuff out in the woods versus just popping into a town to grab it and keep on moving past doesn't make you necessarily part of a group. It just makes you, I don't know, survivalist, witty, resourceful. You don't need that town. You don't need that population that's right there. You're taking advantage of it in that moment.
We don't have to go into the wilds and do that. You can find that out in your own neighborhood too. They still communicate, follow the laws, and part of a society is following the rules and the laws of everything that goes on into it. That therefore in itself makes you part of a group, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like even if you're watching the news or if you're like Woody Harrelson in 2012, like you're still like reaching out via CB radio and stuff.
If you're watching or hearing anything remotely or anything like that, that would definitely like put you into a group, because at that point you're
adopting their values and their
why would you even be listening to them? I'm talking like straight off the grid. Like I think of like that Alaskan Bush People show, like where they literally just for the better
real, right? That family actually lived in Seattle.
The Brown family, well, they were in and out. A lot of it was vastly due to
but then again, they would still fall under my argument because they created their own society and family.
I was going to say, like, take the Brown family, for example, and just reduce it down to one, and then take away the reality show spin of it.
Yeah, he wouldn't survive, or the person wouldn't survive.
So you don't think that anybody could survive independent from like modern technology and stuff these days?
I would say after the age of, let's say you're in a family unit, and I'm speaking hypothetically now. I don't want to get too deep into this. But if we look at something as simple and something that we all know and seen before, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it clearly shows us that in order for us to grow and to live and survive, at some point we have to get to the top 3 tiers. The top 3 tiers is being part of a community or family unit to some degree.
Well, my argument is growth isn't a necessity to live or survive, because you can shrink back the growth where we are now back to like a primal level, and they were already living and surviving independent of growth. If they maintained where they were, they wouldn't grow, but they would still maintain.
I think you're trying to throw in, and this is very common, but our primitive ancestors, if you will, right? They grew and they survived, but they only survived because they looked at Maslow's hierarchy as a need and survived as a herd. That was the key to their survival. It's why you exist today, is because of the herd mentality. Now, as man has gone and expanded, and again, I'm using the term man as universal. I don't mean to be like weird or anything, but as they grow out.
It wasn't weird till you pointed it out.
I know, but I always feel bad when I say it that way, because I always feel like there's somebody that's like, you know, sorry.
He hears that light downstairs, like, rah, rah, rah.
Right?
Not important to you?
Oh, I can't win. Think of a being in his own existence in any way, shape, or form. Whether it looks at the stars or whether it looks at the sands, it sees communal properties and the existence of oneself. This is a very famous quote from Manly P. Hall. And I would almost say that it falls in line with man's nature. Even if man wants to be separate from others, he has to have some communal understanding of the world around him in order to exist. What plants to eat, which ones not to. Because if he's by himself and he eats the wrong plant, what happens?
Dead.
Dies. So even communal learning to some degree. Right? No being, and this is another hard written in stone fact about philosophy, that people don't think there's any hard rules in philosophy, but you will not find a philosophical theory out there that says that man or person cannot survive on their own. They have to either, in the beginning of their life, have some sort of communal understanding for survival, or exist within a community throughout. The problem is one, do not become a drone on society. And if you do become a drone on society, shut up and be the drone. And this is where you get deontology and utilitarianism from. And we're way off topic. You want to talk about a comic book?
Hold on, because I've wanted just to like sit here and talk philosophy with you for a while. But how much do you think of it as just like part of nature versus like because you liken like survival, like learning from others' mistakes, basically. Liken it to the community values, and you wouldn't grow or survive without it. But I don't put mankind in its own category when it comes to nature and living animals and this thing. So there's plenty of animals out there in nature that have been around, evolving, going through the motions, just like we have for as long as
some even longer, like the penguin.
Some even longer. So, well, there's plenty of them out there too that aren't group animals. They're not herd animals. There's plenty of animals out there that are just singular animals. They don't go through their life in groups. So how is it that they survive without knowing what to eat, what not to eat? Where, you know what I'm saying? Like apply those same
example of the animal that you're describing.
I don't know. You don't see like leopards running around in packs. You see lions running around in packs. You see
leopards hunt in packs.
I never see them on Animal Planet in packs. I always see them by themselves.
They're generally.
You don't think there's plenty of animals out there that don't live in packs? Like
the only animals that I know of, and mind you, just because you start off in a pack doesn't mean you end up in a pack. So you'll notice that animals that are extremely independent, like alligators. Alligators are extremely independent animals. They don't like it, but you'll also notice at the same time
herded together all the time in Indiana Jones.
They're birthed together and raised together in a communal sense in a nest, just like birds. Birds are generally independent from one another until they mate or something like that, and then several eggs are born. So even in the beginning, the argument still holds true. Even in the beginning, to learn initial survival, it's always based.
All right, you ready? I got a list of the world's most solitary animals: platypus, polar bear, snow leopard. So leopard was one of them.
Okay.
Certain lizards, Hawaiian seal, desert tortoise. So there's actually a bunch
The
of
seal
them.
one kind of surprises me. I've never seen.
It's a specific seal too. It's a Hawaiian monk seal.
So
Now we're talking about
why you had that list up? Ask the same question: how many babies does the mother produce at one time? Because that's still a community if it's a family
of what?
Of the same animal. So, like you mentioned, the
I
leopard.
already tell you, like the platypus, they lay eggs, right? Because that's a platypus is. Dude, that's my favorite example when people are like arguing about evolution. They're like, well, where's the transitional species going from one to another? Platypus, there you go. End of discussion. It's like, it's got like reptile qualities, mammal qualities, bird qualities, all in the same animal. Like it's a great example, but I know they lay eggs, and seals, that's a mammal. So they probably have a couple, maybe probably just one at a time. It really just depends. I don't know if seals have like the litter or not, but it can go either way.
The seal one actually very much surprises me because I'm pretty sure that there's some sort of pup phase where there's several of them living together during the birthing phase, and then they all split up when they're older, or something along those lines. But again, I can't speak to
the Hawaiian monk
biology and stuff like that. Like I just can't speak to that. But for the most part, like any intelligent being,
that one's also an endangered species.
I'm sure the dodo is a pretty independent bird.
That's awesome. I was going to look up how much. Like, it's an endangered species. There you go.
That answers that question, I guess.
Yeah.
What about Seal Island? That's where the Navy SEALs train, right?
No, they trace right over here, Northwest River. You can drive that way.
Oh man, I hope so. That would make the Bible a much better read.
So yeah, this was I appreciate it, but this was definitely a deep. I was not prepared for this tonight. I appreciate it. It made me think on the fly.
I'm not prepared. I'm just rambling.
No, I get it. It's great stuff. I'm not even like, this is good stuff. You know what? Let's take a look at this from a comic book standpoint. Since I'm assuming, I don't know what channel I'm on. I'm assuming I'm on a comic book channel.
Yeah.
This is actually the Cosmic Campfire, so it's more versatile. It is more versatile.
Let's gather around and talk about anything. That's kind of what it is.
Cool. I will say that to kind of bring it back to the comic book thing, if we look traditionally at villains, the villains, if you look at a story arc of a villain, I found this interesting. There's a guy that actually did a paper on this. Pretty smart guy. He kind of translated that villains that always work together always have, one, the most ruthless plan because the most ruthless person's in charge. Two, villains have to learn other skill sets to be able to work with other villains. You don't see this with heroes. Heroes, like they all do their own separate thing and match up with the guy that kind of has the same powers as them, whereas villains don't do that. And I always thought that was extremely interesting. His name was, let me make sure I get this right, Alfred Raffazziozzo.
And he's not prepared there. He's sitting there reading his notes.
No, I don't have any notes. I grew up in places to remember. Looking at me. Raffazziozzo. I know I'm mispronouncing that.
Well, no matter how you say it, we're just going to nod and assume you're right.
Don't do that. Don't never assume that I'm right. But he kind of brought that up, and it's talking about comic books and looking at comic books from a philosophical stance or a cycle has become like mainstream in universities now, and I actually adore that. I think that's ingenious because again, a comic book is nothing more than an exaggeration of life. Your turn.
I agree on that, and also Todd Christian's comment.
They're Joseph Campbell's greatest lecture with more colors involved.
There you go.
Justice League has been coming out twice a month for a long time now. Long time.
Yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good stuff there in the Justice League.
Yeah, there really is, man. Like, I think business is doing better on team books. Like that's, just like anybody in life. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a writer, an artist, if you're a POCAN, if you work at a kennel, if you deal in insurance, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to go through phases where you do where you're just doing better at whatever it is you're doing. Whether like you got a life outside of your job, that influences everything about you on a subconscious level.
Mhm.
So take someone like a famous comic book writer who was knocking it out the park in the early 2000s. Well, by now they probably have kids that are a little bit older, or a marriage that's in a different place, maybe grandkids, this and that, where they're so many more life experiences are coming through their bodies, to the pen, to the pad, and their style of story is different. So they might be stronger in different areas than others now. So like a team book, which you can almost like look at as like a family in a sense, introducing a younger hero, that's like bringing Naomi in. That's like a kid, like your grown kid is coming in there, and then you have a bad influence trying to get back. Like maybe you have like a kid that was out on the lam, like the prodigal son coming home, like you've got Black Adam. So you can easily liken stuff to like what could possibly be going on in someone's real life, and why this might be a stronger story for them to write in this time era. And then you can be like, well, I definitely don't trust my wife, she's definitely sneaking out on me. Checkmate. Got it.
Checkmate. I like it. That old bird is flying around. You're right. If you look at comic books and the way they're being written now, that this whole play on family and connection, after 2020, right? Like you didn't have much connection with the world. I don't know where you're living, but it was like all my organizations that I'm a member of have older members in them. So there was like legit fear that they were going to get the corona, right? So they all shut down, and we all just I grew a beard, like things got weird, right? Right? And then I'm sitting there and I'm reading these comic books, and remember, everything we're reading right now, right, was supposed to come out months ago. They have not caught up yet.
Yeah.
Well,
so you're reading all this
jumping ship and getting books out though.
Right. But you read all this family connection, heartfelt stories, like people legitimately living the last few years, just absolutely just stuck all that. Now, if I wrote the comic book, I'd be like, I'm tired of my family, flushing down toilet, like
the hell with this barbecue. I want to smash my hand.
Yeah.
I better be quiet. My wife's in the other room. She might hear me.
Yeah. And I think it's going to have a really interesting effect on, like, I talk to a lot of creators, and they always talk about like how long it takes for comic books to come out, But the reality is, especially in the current environment, they're coming out much faster than things like novels or movies or TV shows. So like all of that writing and filming and stuff is really going to catch up to us whenever the writers that are, affected by Corona and stuff and living with their families nonstop for a year, like whenever they start getting those movies out, it's going to be crazy what we see.
Yeah, every show is going to be a pandemic. It's going to be Outbreak all over again. By the way, if you thought Outbreak was a good movie, We Can't Be Friends. That was a garbage movie.
Outbreak. Is that the one with Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like from
Dustin Hoffman.
Huh? Yeah, that was from '96. You're really reaching in the memory bank there.
Was it in '96? I thought I watched it 2 weeks ago.
You might have. Me and my wife watched Contagion and Outbreak. We watched Contagion, and she was about toward the start of the pandemic, because God, was that a Sonnenberg film? I can't remember who made it. It was like Danny Boyle or Sonnenberg, but it is an amazingly shot film, whether you care about it or not. Like,
and the soundtrack is stellar.
Director wise, it is a flawless film. Like, it is just from a director, but it is
and the
amazing.
cast.
Yeah, but watching Gwyneth Paltrow just like go out like a sack in the opening scene, like what am I watching? What do you mean everyone died? This is awesome. Then,
I remember the beginning, like that and Plandemic. Like everybody was talking about those two things everywhere, like all over the internet.
And my wife's like, this is insane. Like, we shouldn't be watching stuff like this at the start of a pandemic. I'm like, you're right. So I put on Outbreak next. I'm like, let's just do it again. Let's do it again.
I'm all about bad decisions. I was putting all kinds of things on, like Ebola documentaries, telling my wife it's really Corona. It was ridiculous. Stay away from everybody. Lock the doors.
Yeah, Scott. The one with Matt Damon was Contagion.
Yeah.
Jude Law walking around like the Bubble Boy.
Walking around like State Puff. Ah!
Yeah,
These little monsters taught him how to dance. He's all.
It's like one of the AIM agents straight out of the comic books with a little square top on it and everything.
That's crazy.
What other book were we talking tonight?
I don't know. What show are we on?
Campfire where everything's cooking.
So, yeah. So, do y'all want to talk? I don't know, Mr. Pocan. Do you read Power Rangers? Not a fan, right?
No.
Ooh, that hit him right in the gut.
I know.
Mr. Pocan. What the fuck?
I don't have the time.
I tend to be a little too proper sometimes.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I like the one on Ryan's channel.
No, I didn't. But I'm going to be. The reason why I don't read Power Rangers is because the first ones that I read, I was like, I'm really not into this. And then I saw the show, the first generation of the show. And I was like, yeah, I'm really not into this. And I don't know, just kind of always, and I get it, right? Bert's going to make sure I never get on this again. So no, that's his jam. But I hadn't read it, and like I hear everybody talking about it, and I'm like, maybe I should get back into it. So here comes your review to convince a non-Power Ranger reader to read it.
No, I'm not about to do that. I don't know if you listen to other people, but I've been, for the past like 2 weeks now, I've been like vocally and just openly saying that this series needs to just cancel and just start anew from a different era. Like just hit new characters.
Soft reboot, and he had a hard reboot.
Yeah. I feel like it's just burning the candle at both ends at this point. Just trying to keep they're trying to stay in the Mighty Morphin era, the most nostalgic era, the most well-known era. And they need to take some more risks and get out there. They need to move the team forward, or just go hit a whole different team and just play with them. But
I mean, it's like 30 years of the same characters playing the same roles. Like, can you imagine if you were an actor kind of stuck in that same thing for that long? 10 years is already a long time in a show.
Can you imagine being Robert Downey Jr.?
So I'm trying to figure this out. What was again, I don't mean to be weird, but the Black Ranger, was that the Green Ranger? The black guy in the TV show?
No, the black guy in the TV show is the Black Ranger.
Are you
yes,
sure?
yeah, and the Yellow Ranger was an Asian.
Okay.
They were very on the nose.
It's kind of on the nose. So the guy the black guy from the show, he actually lives right over here in Norfolk. I've met him like 8 times, and for the longest time, he was like, "Yeah, I was a Power Ranger." I'd see him at the cons and stuff. I'd see him downtown Norfolk, and I'm like,
"What?"
Like, yeah, and he's like, "But you do comic book stuff, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You don't do anything with Power?" And like, I didn't have the heart to tell this guy. No, I don't know. So I'm like, oh yeah, huge.
I brushed my teeth to Power Ranger.
I'm strong lying to this guy.
Brontosaurus.
I'm like, remember when y'all did the thing with the dinosaurs? Because everybody did something with the dinosaurs. Everybody did something with vehicles.
It was the 90s.
I'm like, I'm straight lying to this
dude. That's amazing.
I just he's eating it up.
Jeez.
And before he thinks about it too much, like, I'm ordering him a drink. I'm like, yeah, get him whatever he wants. Strong.
Strong. Yeah.
I realize this guy's just making it up.
Jesus.
I was gonna say, like, I've seen a couple of photos of him with some very glossy eyes, so I'm sure he enjoyed your company, Mr. Joe.
I'm not throwing anything out there. That go back and hide that man believes my lie. He's my hero.
But
Fun fact: he's also missing a finger.
Mm-hmm.
Something he was very self-conscious about. And imagine how many times he was at a show where he had to actually show his fingers.
Yeah, it was crazy. Shaking his hand was weird. Like, I wanted to say something because I didn't know. You know, when you shake somebody's hand, something's just not right. You're like,
so you want to look.
You were a Power Ranger or a Ninja Turtle?
Oh, look at the viewer count drop. sorry. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, the guy's a star. What are you gonna do? Like, no, fuck you and your Rangers. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, oh yeah, you're awesome. Sign this. You know, like,
Right? They were kind of doing the opposite. They were getting out of a lockdown.
You could ask Spider Grandpa. Me at a con, like, first off, immediately, if you're somebody and you tell me here, oh, hey, it's really great to meet you. Like, because I don't want to be that guy at the con. It's like, no, I never heard of you. Here are you? like, there's two Pocans, right? There's the, hey, how you doing? Really nice to meet you. It's like, oh yeah, I love your work. Like, just compliment, right? Just be a nice guy, be complimentive. And then there's the, nah, it's like, you got to go away. I don't know, fuck you. Like, I don't care about you or your life. I'm still learning the in between. Like, there's no in between.
Sounds like me. It's either 0 or 100.
Right?
Who knows what 50 is?
I'll tell you, man. So bad.
Well, okay, so there was a new Power Ranger book this week. Let's I know Pocan Joe didn't read it, but what do you want to say about it?
I'm gonna walk right over here because my horn is empty.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pee into it on camera.
Right. Man, so Frank Gogol, Steve's friend Frank Gogol, he had a book called Power Rangers Unlimited Edge of Darkness, came out this week. Hopefully everybody in the chat knows about it because we've talked about it quite a bit. Initial thoughts, Mark?
Couldn't care about the Phantom Ranger any less. I could care about him a lot less after reading this. It wasn't a poorly written book, but I don't know what its purpose was. It was written just fine. The only thing that mattered in this book was the first individual single page and the last individual single page. It was cool getting a little bit of Rita's dad explanation in the middle there, just more backlog filling, like you're talking about. There's a lot of speaking to the past here. And I know that Frank Gogol was kind of vocal about like moving the needle forward, but we didn't really do that much in here. Again, it was well written, but I thought the Phantom Ranger was a straight sack in the entire story. He accomplished nothing other than getting his ass whooped and trying to be a martyr the whole time, which was annoying.
See, I did enjoy the fact that he was very like mission driven.
I think they missed the mark on that.
Yeah.
That like it even got called out to him, like, quit trying to be a martyr. That was like beyond being mission driven. Like if you take mission driven and push it to its extreme, that's what he was. Like a Terminator. A Terminator is mission driven, but they have a sense of self-preservation. He did not. Like, how are you going to complete a mission if you're not there to complete the mission? Like that's what threw me off a little bit. It was to the point like it was just blaring at me. And you even have your characters in the book pointing it out. Like, was he suicidal in the show?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I don't remember him much in the show. Like, I remember how cool he was, like the action scenes and stuff, but I don't actually remember like any of the interaction with him. So it's hard for me to say how close this played to the show itself. You know,
I gotta tell you, my favorite part was that single page where you get like a picture of Rita's mom with Rita's dad, and then you see Master Vile on the other side, but then you see Rita's the baby in the middle. Rita as Rita Pulse on the side, but then Rita when she's dressed in all white when she redeemed herself way down the road in the Ranger series. You get to see like her full, like snake biting its own tail kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how fantastic! How fantastic! Yeah. She's such an awesome character when it comes down to just being such a villain, you know. But she comes back and she's like an OG badass, you know, good guy when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that they like kind of like showed off like the witchcraft side of it, you know, like because we've always known Rita is like a space witch kind of thing, you know, but I don't feel like, at least not to my memory, we ever really got any like real witchcraftery out of her, you know. And so like when her mom does like all the symbols and stuff, like I thought that was cool to see how space witchcraft actually works
I like how it's all like
you know?
grounded in technology as well on a certain level. Like they're actually using technology to get morphin energy, and it lets you know that the source of their sorcery is the grid energy itself as well.
Yeah.
But and I think with me, like it was a fun read. It was a great one shot. It's just I don't want to say it was great. It was a fun read. It was a good one shot. I'm ready for something great again from Power Rangers. And I know this was his first book, his first outing, and it's just a self-contained story. So there's only so much you can do in a one shot that has a different name than the main series does, and play with the main series. But they straight did a big reveal at the end. So you know, like this is canon to the main story, and now it's a must own for literally 2 pages out of it. It's a must own for people who read the main series. So we know that Dark Spectre is there. They let us know the information that Dark Spectre had to come through with an avatar that originally Master Vile was manipulated to use Rita as the avatar to get him through to this dimension and everything, but they spirited her away. And so I'm kind of thinking that Zardos is that avatar now, like how we saw that he was bossing around the Imperial, but by all means, the Imperial still should be more powerful than Dark Spectre even. Yeah. But I think that he's not just an Eltarian, like, because that'd be stupid. Just have an Eltarian bossing around the most powerful beings that we've seen, the equal opposite of the Morphin Masters even, which that'd just be stupid. So I think Zardos is that avatar now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still on like shaky ground with all of that stuff because I don't know. It almost feels like uninspired, you know? Like what is the Imperial's mission? Well, I don't have time to think of him, or like I guess like what is his goal? And it's like, well, I don't have time to think of a goal for him, so I'm just gonna like put somebody else higher up in charge that'll take them that much longer to get to the point, so I have time to think about it later. You know.
Well, now we know what the Imperial.
I guess like that sports reference that I don't really know is like move the ball down the field or whatever. You know. Buying time.
That's got to be right. Well, like,
so.
There's also a little bit of convoluted plot here because we have the Imperials that have been on this reset creation mission, but now it looks like they're not just intentionally cleansing planets, but whatever they're doing to these planets were for the sake of bringing Dark Spectre through, because you know like the Phantom Ranger in the opening of this shows up on a planet that just had an Imperial come and just wreck it, reset it. Like just picture, Joe, a Celestial coming down with a staff with the power stone. He just taps and he just cleanses the planet. There's these beings that we know of, that there's 3 called Imperials, and they're like the equal opposite of what's called a Morphin Master. A Morphin Master is these 3 Celestials that get their power from the grid. The same thing where the Power Rangers get their source of power from. The magic woo-woo place that sends you magic woo-woo energy. It lets you do magic woo-woo stuff. In all sincerity. So like the good guy magic woo-woo people have an equal opposite bad guy. Just for the sake of them putting them high enough on the scale to let you know how powerful they are. You know what I mean?
Are they a political structure of some sort? Like,
no, it looks like they're completely independent operators until the last issue of Power Rangers. You find out that these planet killers that nobody can touch, Power Rangers can't even begin to deal with them, are answering to an Eltarian. Zordon, the floating head in the jar, he's from Eltar. He's an Eltarian, which are more or less just people. They're just blue, you know. So they're answering to just a person. So there has to be more to just this person. So everyone knows about Rita and Zed, like the classic Power Ranger bad guys. Zed is the guy who's all red, looks like he's been skinned alive, and Rita is Rita. Everyone knows them well. Dark Spectre came along in the later seasons. You know, he's just big, crackly, like dragon demon looking dude, and he pretty much exists in an alternate dimension, and he wants in this dimension so he can take over. And we learned that he can only come through via an avatar. He can't just enter. You know, you have to do a ritual and all that. So I'm thinking
it's very popular in manga and stuff that kind of have that kind of story set up. I get it.
I'm kind of assuming that this Eltarian who's bossing around the Imperials might actually be Dark Spectre in an avatar. Like that might be a reveal later, because why else would just a person be able to boss around celestial destroyers?
See, that's why I actually asked if there was some sort of political structure where everybody answered to somebody. So like, you figure you know, like even our most elite soldiers, right? They have to listen to the president or some general or something like that. Like any day they can crush them, right? So is there like a political structure in the background in some way, shape, or form?
The name kind of suggests that there would be, but Imperial is even spelt differently with a Y and stuff, and I don't know who
It's
appointed
spelled
him this
more
name.
like what was it?
Empire.
Marvel that had the Imperial
Empire
thing. Was
Okay.
that what it was? Empire with the Y.
No, I don't know how it was spelled. It was so horrible. I try not to remember it.
Fair enough. Cheers.
Well, did you ever watch Power Rangers Beast Morphers?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the plot of that. Homeboy stuck in another dimension, and so he's trying to get an avatar so he can like virtually download into our universe. So, congratulations, Power Rangers! You recycled yourself.
So yeah, this actually brings up a good. I'm going to ask a question, and Gant, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm actually genuinely curious.
Yeah.
There's like, this is the only thing I know of Power Rangers. There's like 100 pieces of lore out there attached to the Power Rangers, right? Like I wasn't joking about the animal thing and the machine thing, and then like the group, basically like a Voltron group, and then there's like this other, the prodigal son type thing. Is that what we're kind of dealing with here in this particular story, or is it more complicated than that?
Well, there's no prodigal son in this one right now. That's already happened. That would be Tommy, the most famous original Ranger, the Green Ranger, losing the power of the Green Ranger.
You said they had to use an avatar. Sometimes that's kind of referenced as the prodigal son.
Yeah. So with this, they just it's really just they wanted. That's just because Rita started out as a good guy. Like her mom was a good guy. She was a little kid that just had a rough coming up and everything. And Rita's dad is the main bad guy starting in season like 3.5 of Power Rangers. Power Rangers went through a weird shift. It was like they did this half season called Alien Rangers that where this team from another planet came in and helped them because they were stuck as children. Because you have like 1, 2, and 3 is like the original run. Then you get like a half run. Then they go Zeo. That's when they get out of their original costumes for the first time. And the new bad guy after Rita and Zed are done is Master Vile. How are you going to get badder than Rita and Zed? Get Rita's dad. Like so, he was just corrupted by the Dark Spectre. That's why he doesn't look like a human anymore. And he was trying to basically sacrifice his daughter to this guy. I don't know if Dark Spectre just uses them as a doorway or if they stay in their body or what. That hasn't been revealed. And in the show, he never did any of that. He's just like kind of in space and just look at me. And
so
all that
is this comic book run kind of closer related to one of the shows, or is it its own separate lore?
It's not its own separate lore, and it's not hardline to the shows. They pull and source from the shows, and in the early days they would even like do the little writer's notes or referencing issue this or that. They would how you get those little boxes
like editorial notes.
Yes,
editorials.
They would give you editorial notes to tell you to go watch season 1 episode this. You know what I mean? But we're long past that though. So now we're kind of in uncharted territory. There's there's two series. Yeah.
I think the best answer to the TV aspect of it is that there's something like 30 seasons of Rangers now.
Yeah, it's ridiculously long.
Yeah. And so for like the first 5 seasons, it's kind of trying to be like this connected ongoing thing. And then once you get past there, they basically turned it into an anthology kind of show where every season you get a new team with new Rangers with new lore for that specific team. And after that season's over, then it'll basically restart with a new team, new cast, new characters,
different
new lore.
time era, different dimension, all that stuff. We're dealing with
and so the comics are connected to those first couple of seasons where everything was trying to be connected still.
All right, so as a somebody who does not read Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, sorry, Bert, I love you, man. I love everything you do. I'm just throwing that out there now. Don't hate on anybody, right? I got other things to read. But if I was like, okay, you know what? I want to get into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not trying to grab every issue from the 1990s, and you had to pick one story arc, what would that be? Go.
Shattered Grid,
Yeah.
hands down.
Oh,
Just
wow. Do you agree? We don't do that over at Blaster Stash It. Like we
No,
disagree on
there's
everything.
no question about it. If you want to dip your toes in everything that is Power Rangers, just go pick up the deluxe trade paperback, not the hardback, not the Ultimate Edition, but you can get just the volume 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But they also did a deluxe version for Shattered Grid that includes a couple of one shots and stuff from other whatever. But just get that and read it. That's all you know. You'll get a little taste of every team. It's basically just a bad guy hopping around to all these different seasons, basically, because they all exist on different planes of reality, different dimensions, in their own worlds, their own timelines, and he's wrecking shit. He's taking their powers from them. So you get a good look at the Samurai Rangers, this Ranger.
It's like a multiverse story kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like stuff. Yeah, comic books that have stuff. I like stuff. So that's
This has got stuff.
Like,
And after
Yeah,
you-
the first 30
that,
issues, like that was just a solid
But
run.
this is really just a setup for me, Joe, because after you read that, if you're willing to read that, you're like, that wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed that. I'm going to be like, good, because the follow-up to it is my actual favorite.
what's that? Well, tell me now. If I see it, I'll buy it. Like I don't care.
It's called Beyond the Grid. It's the fallout from that, which was basically it took like a 5-6 issue. Yeah, there it is. That's the Ultimate Edition of Beyond the Grid.
Like it's so small you can't even see. Yeah, there you go.
I see
Beyond
it.
the Grid, deluxe edition.
Yeah. All right, I'm
But,
gonna take a note of that.
But
I'm gonna
Beyond the
keep
Grid
on
was
going.
awesome because what it did is it basically after, without spoilers, the way that Shattered Grid wraps up causes ramifications. So you end up with like a ragtag team where every person who's kind of stuck in this void together are all from separate teams and they're trying to get back home. So it gave the series room to breathe and find out where it's going to go next when you get back to your main core character. But reading that, you need no context. It doesn't matter if you know who these people are or not, because they go into who they are, and the main people they focus on, you'll know from Shattered Grid, which is really just one primary character in that aspect that you'll need to know about.
You know what I like more than talking philosophy? Learning about good stuff to read. Thank
I
you.
thought you said drinking
And like
beer.
the chat's like, yeah, you got to read the Shattered Grid. So I'm gonna buy off.
Yeah.
We'll
Dan's
break it down.
a big Power Ranger guy too. That Blue Hellion, he's not gonna tell you wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No Power Ranger fan is gonna intentionally tell you to go read some bullshit. You know.
Right.
Yeah, because they want you to love it as much as they do, so they're not gonna.
Oh yeah,
steer you wrong.
there is no doubt on the way I've seen comic book on YouTube. Comic book
Yes.
material. Like
You know.
these cats are losing their minds. Jet Li movie and what? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool. Like everybody, like there's 3 camps, right? There's general comic book stuff, me, Blaster, Stash It, a lot of us guys, and then there's a hard divide after that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like
Oh,
there's that hard divide, and most of the guys are like just comic books overall, like that you kind of fit in that camp. But if you're like, I think Justice League's the best book out this week, I don't care how bad the book was. If it's a hardcore teenage Mutant Last Ronin. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. Still best book this week. It's hard. It's like it's in their veins or something. Like they're cracking this stuff. I don't know.
cracking this stuff.
Yeah, I think you'll find that there's actually a lot of people that like both, but the hard line is probably about like 35, 36 years old right now. Because like, there was this point where Ninja Turtles was everything. Like I was born in 88. I'm 33 years old. For me, like my first love was Ninja Turtles, but I was right at the end of it. And Power Rangers started like just as I hit the right age for it. And so if you really put my feet to the fire, I'm taking Rangers over Turtles. But if you're older than me, you're probably going to take Turtles over Rangers because Rangers hit just slightly too late for you,
If you were on the ground floor with the toys and everything, like I remember the Turtles when they first came out in the comic book and the show and all the gimmicky stuff that, like, if they Saturday mornings it was plugged, you were catching 8 commercials for the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja toy that was popping out. Like that was the thing, right? And then kids would lose their minds. We see it in the cartoon. Then We would fight over who gets to be that new character on the playground. If you don't know, I'm old.
Yeah, they were 30-minute commercials for all the toys, you know.
Yeah, right. And they were cool. Like you see the kids play with it, and you're like, "That's not what he did in the commercial with that figure." You're a moron. Like, we took that shit seriously. We were hardcore.
I'm 17 and I like. I got some questions for Whack Comics then.
Right.
So
I forgot to ask.
I want to touch on Beta Ray Bill.
What's that?
Am I allowed to drink on this show? I forgot to ask.
Are there
Absolutely.
rules about drinking and not drinking on YouTube?
Dude, I don't even know what channel I'm on. I'm asking you.
You're on my channel, and I say A-OK.
I mean, in general, is there like alcohol consumption rules?
Who said I was drinking alcohol? I just said to drink.
I didn't say you were. I'm asking
You
about.
trying to get me out to Mama Susan? What's going on here?
What channel is this?
You know I've been shadow banned. A kid. I don't want to know if I did. What is it? What are we talking about now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Dude, right?
Scott's on it.
Campfire.
If you see what Scott does on his channels, you know that a beer ain't no big deal.
I'll tell you right now. Like when I started doing the whole YouTube thing, I was already starting getting back into collecting and hitting Golden Age hard, and getting on his show and doing an interview. I kind of regret not focusing the Pocan Joe show into more of the Golden Age and Silver Age stuff, right? But then again, you know, you can't really talk a whole lot, because if you talk crap about that stuff, like if you read one of it and you talk crap, like people will genuinely hunt you down. Like that's bad, right? But if you talk shit about a new comic book, people are like, well, you're just wrong because you're ignorant. And I'm like, I can deal with that.
I can deal with that. I was impressed with your if you could only pick one series to read the rest of your life answer, because we would share that one in common.
Yeah, I would definitely pick Tales to Astonish, because Tales of Astonish has always done an excellent job of mixing and matching its story content. Plus, you get multiple stories in it, and they made sure that it wasn't like just a superhero story with another superhero story, right?
Now, do you have a lot of those?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a lot of those?
Yeah.
Do you have doubles of a lot of those?
I'll go take a look.
See, what I'm doing now is I'm shopping, because if you watch my channel, you know that I've been going hard on that run. And when I went to the con that last weekend, nobody had any.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a single Atlas era PTA in the entire con, and the only ones that were there were a couple from in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But the only person that had them had floppies on the wall, probably in like between a 4th to a 6th grade. He had about 6 different issues, none of them keys except for that issue 90, and had nothing less than $400. Like, what is wrong with you, man? These are like $20.
The great thing about Tales to Astonish, and you can do the same thing with Tales to Suspense to some degree. With Tales to Astonish, it's easier to break it down by, and again, I hate this concept, not the grade of the cover, but the cover. So, like, you want monster covers, right? There's a very specific time frame that those were popping.
Monster, Man, Giant Man, Hulk, and
horror, superhero. Like, they broke this stuff out probably smarter than any other comic book run that I've seen yet. And I have a pretty extensive collection of Tales to Astonish. I'm very proud of it, because I was on. It's the perfect thing for me, because I'll get onto a monster thing, and then I'll get onto a spy thing. Like I'm pigeonholed that way, and that's how I look at things.
What's your lowest number you got?
I'm sorry?
What's your lowest number you got?
1.
You do have number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'm watching a number 5. My lowest number is 6. I've got 2 single issue ones, or single digit ones, but
Oh yeah, they're great for that.
Yeah,
And
for
you know, you don't have to
$400
get into the.
like in the range of 4 to a 6. They were nothing fancy. Like
Oh
a
yeah,
high grade Tales to Astonish. Like if you go to like Tales to, what is it, 59, where you get Hulk's first reappearance in the series,
oh
like in
yeah,
the origin, like a high grade of that raw is like a $400 book, and that's the Hulk's first reappearance since the original 6 issues of the Incredible Hulk. That's a $400 book, and like you get to like a very fine or a fine or above, but these were just random issues. I'm talking like issue like 97, 98, issue like 60, whatever. No first leader, no cameo leader, no nothing. No the first time Hulk smash was ever uttered was in Tales to Astonish, not that
right.
issue. Like there was nothing key. There's not a single key Submariner book. There's nothing key about any of his appearances in there except the crossover with Iron Man in that one issue, because that was the first time Iron Man and Submariner crossed over in the title.
Yeah,
So there's nothing key about the story. It was just a flash appearance. Like, hey, look at this, cool. But
so
he had
here's
everything.
here's a great piece of advice for everybody out there. And I generally avoid advice to people. You know, live your life, do what they will. That's my philosophy. But I'll tell you this right now. This whole, collecting comic books, jumping on comic books, getting into this stuff, two simple rules. Two very simple rules. One, hobby should pay for itself. I mean, sometimes you're going to buy things you don't want to collect, but somebody who does want it, and you can sell it to them. Use that money to put into your collection. Super smart, super easy. Just do your research, right? 2, anything from the Silver Age is worth money. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there now. Every comic book speculator, everybody's about to lose their mind. If it's early Silver Age, meaning the first 5 years within Silver Age, it's worth more money now. If you see it in a dollar bin, I don't care the grade, pick it up, flip it on eBay, add extra 5 to what you paid to it. You're making plus shipping. You'll make bank. Done, out of the way. Because I think I've made it very clear my feelings about this comic book market thing when we're dealing with these modern stuff that's going around, like hardcore flipping and dealing in comics. I deal in it. I do it as a hobby for fun, right? To pay for things. Even my dollar auctions that I hold, like all that money. I got the check the other day. By the way, thank you for everybody who participated. I made $726.80. That's going to my new Evil Layer project. Getting a new sander. Like I'm open about.
I participated but didn't win shit because you extended the auction.
We had that has to happen every now and then. They hold the reserve to do that, and that's the auction house that does it. They'll generally do it once. So what has happened is. Because I don't want anybody mad. Normally, the auctions are stretched out longer anyway. But by the time I got it in Corona and everything going on, she launched the auction early because she knows a lot of people jumping on my auctions. The problem was Corona and everything else going on. Not that many people jumped in. And in the terms and conditions, they hold the right. I had talked to her after this last one when she bumped it. I went and talked to them, and I asked them not to do that again. To go back to the original time frame, we don't need to make fast cash here. Nobody's in a hurry. We usually extend it out to what the original date was, or I'm sorry, the secondary date. I don't know why she cut it short. I talked to her about that. That was a problem on the DMs. I don't like having those kind of problems myself because I'm very transparent with that kind of stuff. And some people got burned and some people got their feelings hurt. And I understand, but all I can do is apologize at the end of the day. I'll never say I'm sorry because there ain't nothing sorry about me.
I got burned on a We Live #1, like a 4-book lot of Something Is Killing the Children, a bunch of death metal 1 in 25s that I was going to grab. A bunch of stuff. I bid on a bunch of shit. Now just watching the emails rolling, outbid. All of these were after the original date. I'm like, oh, isn't that a pity? Isn't that a pity?
You know what the funny thing is? And again, I always say it, my own auctions, I'm a man of my word. I do not believe any, and mind you, I'm the guy that gets one or like one per store variants and stuff like that. I get this stuff. It doesn't mean anything to me. I do that to help out my local comic book store. I review it, I regurgitate it to you, and it goes into a dollar auction. It's not something that I collect.
Oh, look.
Mars,
Brothers in arms.
I understand, and I do apologize for that. That again, we had the conversation. I even went to her old man, who's a very close friend of mine.
Don't worry, Mars. He's sorry.
She took over the business. I apologize. I need to drink more.
Putting words in his mouth.
Yeah. No, it was cool. That was my first time checking out that auction house and everything. So I'll definitely hop on the next one and throw in some
again, the cool thing with
number, maximum bids, and just let it sit there. And if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. If I wanted those books to begin with, I would already own those books. But if I could catch a deal inside of what I'd be willing to pay for books that I didn't initially want to begin with. But like We Live, anytime I see We Live, I'm gonna take a shot at it.
Oh,
but
yeah, no doubt. I wouldn't blame you.
Huh?
Oh, well, I don't blame you. There's a lot of books that are popping right now that are hot. Like I wish I would have gotten Sweet Tooth #1 because that thing's going crazy right now. And again, this is the guy
it'll die out quick. Though.
Does not believe in this comic book market the way other people promote it. If that makes sense.
It does.
Like
You're not putting your stock in temporary gains. You're looking at surefire gains. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
With anything modern, it's spec. With anything older, it's just guaranteed.
It's value.
Mm-hmm.
It's legit value at that point. It exists, and you're lucky it does.
Yeah, if you own
Those
books
fools
that exist in
economics.
the Library of Congress, which a lot of comic books and original art pages do, you're not holding potential. You're holding actual value. There's a big difference. And a lot of books that come out that are newer books, they'll get that someday. They'll have their day to shine. But until then,
So I have the complete run and all the tie-ins of War of the Realms. Remember when that thing came out?
What is that?
Mm-hmm.
It's Marvel's their little crossover into.
That was the Jason Aaron thing that sold everybody on him.
What is
the
big first appearance in that everyone goes for? It's like #2, isn't it?
There's not really a whole lot of new appearances in it. It just had a lot of cool stuff in it.
But there's one of those. It's a major key now, major modern key.
Yeah, there's some keys came out of it, but I'll be honest with you, I care less about that. The reason why I keep it is one, I reviewed them on, of course, YouTube. I bought them, and I think there was only a handful of them I blasted, and I was actually waiting just to dump the whole thing because I thought for sure it was going to end stupid. And then the whole Kill Crew with the Punisher thing came out, so I was like, I'm going to go down this arc, and I still have all of that. And since then, I've ran at least 20 auctions. I can't get rid of it, and here's why. I really enjoyed that story. Like the majority of that, I absolutely loved. And I'll be honest, in my collection, that's probably the only thing that I keep in there, just because if that would be something I would come back out and read again without having to buy an omnibus. Like I'll read that the way I do the Odyssey, the way I do the Liliad, or a lot of other things.
You call the Iliad the Lily Lad?
Liliad.
Liliad? You don't call it the Iliad like the other 100%?
I don't call it Iliad because that's not correct.
Is it not correct?
It's Greek.
It's Greek.
It's Greek.
How much Greek do you speak? Oh, that was 2019. I thought that was 2018.
There's one word in Greek, I think, and it's the Iliad. I think that's the only Greek word on there. What do you read? Didn't you say, I think I remember you saying, you try to read the Odyssey, once a year or something?
Yeah, once a year I read the Odyssey.
Do you remember the made-for-TV? Yeah, remember back in the 90s when made-for-TV movies were actually fantastic, and they would come out with like a 2-hour part this week, and then next week you catch the second half. And Amada Santi played in the Odyssey.
Yes, I remember that. That was great.
Absolutely epic. Yeah. I think it's weird that I even know who Amada Santi is, because he was like big on TV in the early 90s.
So for all the people in the chat,
They also
if you haven't read the Odyssey, first off, you don't have to get the thick, like 3,000 pages worth of the.
Pull out the tome.
The tome, yeah.
You don't have to bring out the Torah, right? Like you just right. If you don't know, the Iliad was one of the first archetypes that was ever written, where the hero of the story was not endowed by the gods. Therefore, he wasn't a demigod. He wasn't a god. He was legit just a regular guy, kind of like Batman in the Justice League. That's why I've always kind of. So he had to outsmart, out MacGyver, everything he had to do, and then there's some lessons of virtue in there as well, and a person's responsibility of getting back home to their family. And you ready for this? He made mistakes. So
a lot of mistakes.
Right. So you get this, but he forced through it, and he's a great example of leadership as well. So the Iliad, or nothing.
Wait a minute. How many survivors came home with him, Joe?
Not many, because
great leader.
Well, 7 years.
Got his whole
7 years, man. Like they're not going to make it.
He's a horrible navigator.
Some of them just aged out. I mean,
peer pressure. Whole team gets killed.
Well, hey, he had a goal and he accomplished his goal.
He was a man on a mission.
His claim to
Phantom
fame.
Ranger.
His claim to fame is stringing a bow. That's what he did. He strung a bow.
What? Yeah, did you read it?
At the end, did you read it? When he has to string his bow and shoot it through the axes.
That's not the epic moment. That's not the epic moment. The epic moment is the talk with his son while he's disguised. That's the epicness of the entire tale.
His son probably just thought he was Zeus in disguise. Who is this old bastard? Don't tell me how to live my life.
He actually thought his dad was a bum, yeah, because he didn't tell him he was his son. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gilgamesh is a great story too. I love Gilgamesh. I tried to read that every now and then as well.
That's the original, great. Isn't it? The Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, that's the original Noah's Ark.
That's where you get the actual idea of a person and a monster working together, much like Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca, or Han Solo and Chewbacca. That's where you get that concept of the beast and man working together.
I'm not as on the up and up about Gilgamesh. I just looked at a lot of the comparisons between that and the Great Flood, the flood of the Iraqi floodplains, and the topography over there, and the depths in which it would take to flood the earth if your world exists in just such a small regional area like as it would back then, and how that mythology would be born.
So as I tell all people, oh, wow, I don't know. I just got caught up. I thought I was in a regular conversation, but I'm on YouTube right now. So there are people that believe this. Right? You should preface it things. The Bible's allegorical, not historical. And I can also, and the weird thing about that is that Jewish people know that the Torah is, allegorical, not historical. Muslims believe that the Quran is historical. So
historical,
when you hear these,
without error, and corrects the errors of the Bible.
Right. So when you hear these kind of stories, and like any religious scholar out there with half a brain and reason knows that a lot of these things are kind of told to have more emphasis on the meaning of the story versus what's going on. It's kind of like the way I read a comic book, right? Like, I get it. Superman flies in, he punches somebody in the mouth. I'm not interested in that. What am I interested in? Why is the villain doing what he's doing? Why does Superman feel that it's his responsibility to do it? I'm more interested in that. And that was the whole purpose of a lot of the stuff being written. I'll never forget if you've ever been to a bar mitzvah and you're trying to figure out what that poor kid is up there sweating out trying to read at the end of the day, right? To get his little bar mitzvah money, whatever he's trying to do. And I'm allowed to make fun of Jewish people. I'm Jewish. So you're going through this, right? Like you're kind of understanding that the meta of the whole thing versus this whole just have belief thing. There's nothing wrong with belief or faith. I think they're intrinsic into anybody. But the whole purpose of these stories is to get you to think higher than yourself and past your own nose and find something that you can attach yourself to become greater. The same reason why I would think a lot of people read comic books today. There's great examples of the same stuff that's being taught in these other religious scriptures is being shown there. That just went. We're on a different channel now. I need to.
We're not. This is the Cosmic Campfire.
What channel are we on?
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get you because, like, you know, the kids up there. It's not the point of him like understanding how to read this. You know, it's the work that goes into coming out on the other side and adversity. So
can I break from the norm in the books that we agreed to talk about? This is because this is a great example. Can I kind of break away?
Absolutely. So please do. Because I didn't read the third one either.
Did you say yes or no? I'm sorry.
I said yes.
Okay. So this book came out, right? And my God, I've heard people talk shit about a book before it even bothered coming out or anything like that. And I'm like, read the book first. So what you got in here is you got an actual good story, right? If you don't know, this particular Captain America is homosexual. Now, I'm not particularly interested in what you do in any part of your life. I'm more responsible to the fact that, you know, what are your ethics? What do you believe in? And what are you willing to fight for? And should we be friends because of those things? I would be friends with this guy. Like he saw an example, Captain America, and he was like, hey, I want to fight for truth, justice, and be a decent person. I'm going to take on that moniker. Captain America doesn't own it, so why not? And then we get an origin story. So the fact that this particular person's homosexual or not is not even really part of the story, but it is his identity in the story. He still just wants to do the right thing at the end of the day. And I would be friends with somebody. I'm not going to the club that he went to because that was kind of weird. But right? And nobody's kidnapping me and throwing me in a work camp or anything like that. They did my ancestors, but they're not doing it today. So, like, I get it, right? Like, I'm okay with this guy. This wasn't a bad story. It was a typical comic book story that you would get in any other sense. So, I don't understand why everybody's hating on this. I don't know. They didn't make a huge deal out of the fact that he was gay. They had like 4 panels where he was like holding another guy's hand. It wasn't like a porn or anything going on in here.
Yeah.
It's just a guy with different feelings that wanted to do the right thing at the end of the day. And honestly, I think that's something we can all kind of strive for. I would hope, except for me. I'm a villain.
I see you got that nice severed arm variant.
Yeah, the severed arm variant.
Yeah,
I'm trying to look up the definition of this word because you said that you don't see anything wrong with religion or faith, and it has intrinsic something. Then I blanked out. But I'm trying to look at the word. I want to ask you what you thought of, like, I think it's epistafist. I think that's the word, and I can't even find it when I look it up. But it's the person who just rejects faith, that does not live their life by faith, which, as crazy as it sounds, I try not to, because it's for me in the way that I view it with my experiences, and this is going to definitely differ from person to person, and it's definitely going to be a minority of people who even think this way. But I feel like it's a very dishonest way to live your life, to base anything on faith. Because if you look and say, well, I base this belief on faith, well, what other area of your life, what practical area of your life, because you don't have a practical area of your life that you base on faith, that's kind of just built into the term faith. It can't be a practical area. So if you apply faith to any practical area of your life, you're now running a high risk for horrible consequences.
Okay.
Like,
let me ask you a question.
Go
Answer
for
it
it.
honestly.
Mhm.
Are you going to wake up tomorrow?
I don't know,
How do you not know if you're going to wake up tomorrow?
because that's tomorrow. It's not now.
I'm about 99% sure I'm going to wake up tomorrow.
That's not that you don't know then.
But I'm about 99%. I think that
Yeah,
if I use reason.
Yeah,
Right?
reason isn't faith though. That's the opposite.
No. Reason and faith do correlate.
They correlate, but they're not the same.
No. We can draw a line between the two, between reason and faith. We actually found this out when the teachings of Socrates was actually given to a Muslim by the name of Harivim, who actually told people to use reason and religion together as you make your own decisions. Now, all this got changed over once the Catholic Church kind of put a squash on it and kind of pushed us back into the Dark Ages. And then we kind of have to get into the history of philosophy and kind of expand.
Pause real quick. Define faith as you're using it, because words don't have meanings; they have usages. So, how are you using the word faith right now?
You believe in a power beyond something that is known to man, beyond reason.
What? That's how you define faith with a question? I'm just asking for a definition.
The faith, right, is defined by something beyond reason. Reason and knowledge. You can throw knowledge in there too. That's just a funny word to use. So, like, okay, so you've heard the saying.
Anything beyond reason is faith. That's a very, very loose definition.
Well, it depends on how intelligent the person is you're talking to.
Depends on how you plan on using it moving forward also.
Well, fine, but reason always changes over a period of time, and so does knowledge as it goes. Remember, at one point we believed. All right, so here's a good example. You're going to love this one. So at one point in America, in the world history, we believed that if you sailed out too far, you'd fall off the end of the earth. All right, that's ignorant. Not everybody in the entire world thought that. If you could climb up to the top of a mountain and go down to a beach, you knew the world was spherical. It's also represented in the Bible, the Torah, and in the Quran that the world was a globe. But we know, right, that at some point in medieval time, people actually believed this stuff. Therefore, the older knowledge was different than the historical. And this is where they threw off the faith thing and the knowledge of faith, and they threw all that stuff away and just came up with their own philosophies because they could only look linearly.
We know there's also a couple of verses in the Bible that speak of the earth as being flat as well, like standing on top of a mountain and looking to the ends of the earth as though it was flat.
Again, I think this deals more with dealing with the world. Again, I think that was more
a rabbit hole. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
I think that was
there's
used
there's a lot of interpretation involved in both of those. But yeah, going back to faith, yeah, I just don't think that there's anything in my life that I just take on faith. When I actually sat down and look at it, like some things I choose to believe based on reason. Some things a lot of beliefs are like just you don't always choose your beliefs. Some things you just believe. Like I don't know how to go forward that one, but there's a lot of things you just believe.
You can't use faith and belief without that. They're not interchangeable words.
No, that's what I'm saying. A lot of things that like I choose to believe, like just looking at evidence or just when you look back on it, you can find reasons that you believe it. But some things you just believe to be, especially like when you're a kid, you just take on face value. You know, you just choose to believe things or. But I can't think of anything that I believe just simply based on faith.
Well, I would like to have faith in the fact that even though I'm kind of a douchebag and somewhat narcissistic and somewhat of a know-it-all, that at the end of the day, I lay it by faith that my works are more charitable than my attitude.
All right, say that again. Not you take it on faith. not that you hope to. You just choose to hope.
No,
Like,
I don't hope. I have faith. Hope and faith are two different things.
yeah, that's why I was just seeing how that
They're not
played
synonyms.
differently. That's why I was seeing how that played differently when you change them out.
Doesn't. So at the end of the day, like on YouTube, I come off as I know how I come off, right? Like this guy that can get deep and talk about things, even though I do my best to keep things kind of shallow because nobody likes that guy. It's too smart. I get it. And it's not that I'm too smart. It's just I have some knowledge that I can regurgitate. I'm basically just a walking parakeet in human form. So, but at the end of the day, and I know how this stuff can come off sometimes, but I would like to think that at the end of the day, in my little community, in my zip code, if you will, that my works and the things that I do and the things that I join, whatever it is I do that makes me feel better and does good for my community, I have it by faith that that's me as a person versus me, the person on YouTube.
Well, you just used a phrase there that made a lot more sense to me. You said, I like to think.
Yeah, but it's still based on faith. You can still think in faith. You can still reason in faith.
Like, is it really by faith or is it by looking at like the cause and effect? You see like the things that you do, you gauge it based
on how many people show up to my tombstone. That's the only day that it really matters.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like you see the things you do, and you can kind of gauge how that goes because you have interactions with your community.
No, if you're a member of a civil organization, it's more cutthroat than most people give it credit. I argue and fight for the things that I do on a regular basis, and at the end of the day, it's faith that allows me to think that I'm doing the right thing because I don't really know. I'm sorry.
You sure it's not stubbornness? Like your drive to
stubbornness is based off of my faith.
Yeah. But what's the driving factor for your faith? What's driving your decisions? Like you can't faith is not something that just drives your decision. There's like one step back from that. Well, I'm saying there would do good things. There would be one step back from that. Like faith in what drives you to make those decisions. Like that's not like tied to religion.
Good. Like that's not even a decision. That it's to do good. To help people.
So your drive to be
trying.
I was starting to read Dan's there. Your drive to be altruistic is what pushes you. It's not necessarily faith, then would it?
I have faith that being altruistic would make me a good person.
Well, you don't have to have faith in that. That's just kind of comes with the territory of being altruistic. I mean, it falls under.
Is it?
The usage of that
Hitler
word.
thought he was altruistic. I don't think we can agree with that.
Who thought they were?
Hitler.
Did he think he was though? I don't think he.
Read Mein Kampf.
If you record yourself reading it, I will listen to it on audio tape.
As a Jewish person, no.
That would be the only way. To me, faith is
the greatest audiobook ever.
With love between a married couple, you may not always see it like you can see a comic book, but you can still feel the presence of that love. Now, I do believe in the sense of I don't know if I catch that with faith, but I do believe that love is an actual tangible thing. I think the feelings and emotions that you get.
Like, you drilled me with questions. Now, I would like to ask a couple questions. At the end of the day, you know what drives faith, right?
No, I don't.
Here's the big secret. Here's the basis to all faith whatsoever, and you've kind of already agreed to it. It's actually love. That's the emotional connection you have to faith. Faith isn't an emotion. Faith is a thing that makes you drive and do things. The basis of that is always an emotion. And emotion is love.
Well, I think that
unless faith turns on the red light, then you got to pay for it.
I think that emotions are probably the most powerful things that we have going on in our lives, and I think that anger is the most powerful emotion that there is, even more powerful than love. More people do absurd things out of anger and rage, and I think that's the strongest emotion that there is. But I think that all of those things are quantifiable also. I don't think these are just
Well, I would have
Words
to
out of my
say
head.
emotions aren't quantifiable.
I think they are, because if
The
you get down to the
reasons
science of
Have
it,
you read Good Luck, Pocan Joe? Come on now.
I've read
well,
good
in all
luck, but
sincerity, if you hook somebody up to a brain scanner and you start showing them different objects and pictures and stuff, you can actually start measuring where their emotional responses come from and the amount in which they happen. Like
You're
you start looking
absolutely
at
right.
serotonin, dopamine, you start seeing all of that. So you can literally measure emotional responses with people, and they're not going to be the same for everybody. But like it's so. I don't think that love is this magic woo-woo thing that goes around. It's not anything supernatural. It's something that's literally a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
It's like we paid neural pathways. Like when I met my wife, we started dating and everything, like I had fun. I enjoyed this experience. We did it again. I repeated that same chemical reaction, and then your
No,
brain
it wouldn't be the same. So, if I
not
may,
it wouldn't
if
be
you
the
don't-
exact thing, but you start building these neural pathways, and then you start becoming familiar
so
with them.
those
But
neural pathways you're talking about are called synapses, right? And synapses
Mm-hmm.
is a brain. It's a brain abnormality, actually, because your brain kind of goes. So, if I said something to the effect of "all blondes are," you would have to fill in the blank, right? Most common
Happy.
response: dumb.
What? Dumb? They're
Most
dumb?
common response in the United States is dumb.
Oh, wow! I would not win Family Feud on that one.
It's because your emotional response to that was either a joke or something along those lines that kind of degraded a female blonde person. So your brain, which you're not in control of, automatically
watch
made a
Interstellar.
shortcut to this. The majority of it, right? Even if, and then the secondary research shows that even if you didn't come up with that phrase, chances are you know a blonde joke that would kind of fit that format where a blonde woman is dumb. Speaking of which, do you know why the blonde woman's belly button was hurting?
Yes, I heard this joke.
Blonde men are stupid too. Just throw that out there.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you have on the topic of Interstellar and love? So I think I don't think that even Interstellar, the way I watch it, they weren't trying to act like love was some supernatural thing. They were even going into even hard. They're trying to present it as science beyond understanding of the current time era that the movie was taking place in. We're into fifth dimensional beings and all this and that, and yeah, they're saying love transcends in the sense that like people are going to great lengths to try to save each other at this point. That it wasn't like magic woo-woo love and Interstellar went hand in hand.
I'm going to say this, and people are going to lose their minds. So I watched Interstellar, and I fell asleep.
I don't know why anyone would lose their mind. It's not an action-packed movie, you know. It is.
I was, and mind you, I'm not like an action-packed movie kind of guy. It's not really my thing. I do like me a good action movie. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sitting there watching this, and to get to the plot and the moment the dust thing happened, and the little girl thought it was a ghost, I was like, "We're dealing with time travel," and my wife's like, "Shut the fuck up." It's time travel. That's a key plot. Like you can pick this stuff out now. She's like, "Get the fuck out."
Have you seen Tenet yet?
Have I seen what?
Tenet.
Yes.
T-E-N-N-E-T. Tenet.
Yeah.
What? That's one that you got to watch a couple times because Christopher Nolan's like, I'm going to make a movie so confusing, and I'm going to hit the gas pedal, and I'm not going to hit the brakes for nobody. So I hope y'all see it twice in theaters if you want to get the full experience.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Go on you before you see Tenet. Like, just go watch a documentary on dimensional time travel. There's all kinds of woo-woo stuff out there on it. I don't care which one you watch. They always get the baseline definitions correct, and then they get into the woo-woo. So you watch the first 5 minutes of it. You'll get kind of the theory of the whole thing, and then watch the movie. Because if you don't do that, then you're like, "Oh, congratulations, you made Sleeper again." It's like
It was wicked fun to watch. I enjoy most of his movies just trying to figure out where he's going with the plot. As he'll introduce some concepts and everything, he'll start playing with them before he kind of gives you like the what direction the narrative's going through all of it. So it's always his stuff outside of his Batman stuff and God, what was it, Dunkirk? That was just crap. I mean, how are you going to? Christopher Nolan and the historical film don't go hand in hand because it's outside of the mold of his normal stuff. You know what I mean? So they try to Christopher Nolan it by just making, oh, you didn't know these two things were happening at different times
because you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Was that really necessary? Just give us a beautifully shot war movie about people standing on a beach.
Yeah,
it'd be cool because that's what everyone wants to watch: people standing on a beach. But yeah, I always like trying to piece together his narrative. It's kind of like reading comics in that sense, like trying to, where does this book fall in the timeline, in the multiverse? Where is it going to connect to?
What tie-ins are we just randomly throwing in here that we need to be paying attention to? Yeah, it gets a little.
All right. Well, this is great, but I do have to wrap it up. So
what?
But I got till 4 o'clock in the morning. No, I got to get out of here too. Wife's already gave me a side eye one. She's like, "It's midnight," and I'm like, "Yeah, you old bird." I don't really talk to my wife like that, but she went upstairs so I can get away with it.
He's not sorry, but he apologizes. All right. Yeah. So I dropped a video this morning. New comics coming out next week, next Wednesday. Some of them on Tuesday as well. Do you have anything coming up, Pocan?
Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and the boys over at Blaster Stash It. If you thought this was fun, we're actually going to stay on topic and we're going to say good and bad things about comic books.
We're on topic. The goal was to review 3 comics that none of us read.
I read all mine.
I read. I didn't want to make Ryan feel bad.
I came prepared.
That's all right.
No, but of course, over at Pocan Joe channel, if you're new to this, I do comic book reviews. Those are my least watched videos, but you don't blame you. And we do a once a month project. We call it a project because I have to learn a new skill set while I'm doing it. So this July, today, my birthday, we are doing 30 days. I got to make an explosive arrow and maybe add a surprise arrow. So that's in the making right now.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Sounds good. And you, Mark, anything coming up people should check out?
At Week's End every Sunday at 9 p.m. where we stay on topic and spoil the hell out of everything that came out this week, as well as review movies and TV shows. So Loki episode 4 will be getting the dissection this week, which was great episode. Loved it to death. The last 10 minutes of it is what these shows were meant for. And then tomorrow morning, tomorrow's weird. It's holiday weekend, so I got the stream set for 7:30 a.m. Tyler's might be a little late, so I might be on there all bored and alone by myself early in the morning. Who knows? So we'll see how early the community wakes up and joins.
Awesome.
Are you up early?
Isn't that what the little Asian girls do? The little heart, I don't know. Is that? I don't know. I got you. Bro.
Weird diamond.
I'll see you at some point.
Well, one last time, I want to say check out Comic Book Press_pressing on Instagram. Use promo code BERT54 for free return shipping on your first order. And make sure you follow him on Instagram and set notifications because he does like random sales and pop-ups and things like that. So you can definitely score a good deal by doing that. And that's pretty much it for tonight. So everybody have a good evening. And if nothing else, you can probably catch most of us in the morning.